Very good morning to you.
Morning, Jane.
Tell us about this conference and what you hope to achieve.
So the conference has been going for 7 years. It's really a collaboration and a partnership between public and private sector. And the objective is really to showcase South Africa as a positive and potential investment destination for overseas investors. It's held in New York at the moment. We are investigating and considering repeating this in other centres like perhaps London and Southeast Asia in order to expand our presence and the narrative overseas to encourage flows back into the country.
How hard a sell are we?
Well, ironically, there's a lot going on in the economy locally, but there's also a lot happening globally. And so we're facing into uncertainty between the US and China, uncertainty in the UK, and this is creating an appetite and a need in the investors for yield and for interesting new destinations. And so I think South Africa is really well placed. Yes, we do have many concerns and many complexities in the economy.
I mean, sorry, I was going to say that, I mean, we also subject to the geopolitical woes at the moment, but we've got, exacerbated by what's happening at home. So,
yes.
So where's the excitement there for
yes, indeed.
overseas
So overseas we have much complexity, but back home, the real complexities and the focus for investors are on policy certainty. There's a key focus. There's a key focus on SOEs and how we may consider unbundling components of Eskom. I was in New York recently, and there was a really strong interest in potentially investing in any form of unbundling of Eskom.
So they like that?
Yes, they love that, and they actually made a comment on comparing the Eskom environment to a bridge which collapsed in Genoa, and saying there was very little local appetite in Italy at the time to invest. Corporate America invested in the bridge, in that infrastructure, and the returns were very positive. So I think that there is most certainly an interest in investing in potential SOE opportunities.
I mean, Richard Branson, you hear that he might be interested in something in South African Airways. So it's wonderful when you hear that something we look at as an absolute disaster and a financial drain, others are viewing as an opportunity. So how do we use that to our own benefit there?
Yes, and I think the narrative that we put out in the country is really important. We tend to always over-index on the negative and always look at the negative side, but with negative comes lots of opportunity and lots of possibility. So in the instance of unbundling of components or even entire parts of SOEs will create enormous potential upside investment opportunity. Remembering that South Africa is an emerging market and we offer a high yield, which is really in demand across the global environment, which is in a low growth context right now.
And how are things on the JSE at the moment? I mean, I know there are calls from gender-based organizations that deal with that there must be some sort of tax on companies to give back. I mean, when it comes to giving back and doing the right thing and having that sort of social conscience, what sort of impact does that have on the JSE and investors? What do they want in that regard?
Social conscious investor appetite is profoundly changing at the moment, and so we've seen in our social responsibility index with FTSE over the last 3 years that index has outperformed our benchmark indices. We're seeing great interest in our green bond segment, and we're about to launch a social impact investment debt framework to enable instruments to be listed, which will enable institutions or entities who are wanting to funnel funds, for example, to schools or for social important social matters through a formal debt structured instrument. So there's an enormous interest and a growing appetite by the investors to start investing in socially responsible initiatives.
Going back to that investment under the conference underway, what would be a good conference for you?
A good conference for us would be that investors walk away with a positive attitude, understanding the upside opportunity in the country. We have a lot to offer as a country. We have potential growth opportunities if we're able to provide certainty on the SOEs, if we're able to provide certainty on how we're going to manage our fiscal deficit right now. And I think there are some very tangible opportunities for our policymakers to put forward very convincing arguments around how we're going to address those two very, very important matters in the country.
And we'll throw the Springboks into that package as well.
Absolutely. The Springboks have created a wonderful, positive atmosphere, as we saw in 2010, where the general business sentiment was positively affected by the World Cup in 2010. We're seeing the same thing, and I'm hopeful that that can spill over into the business context, and that, of course, then encourages an appetite to invest inwardly and within the country for larger corporates to start to invest in capital infrastructure.
Wonderful. Leda Fourie, thank you.
Thank you.